The difference between a scissor and a shear is any scissor where the length of the blade is over 6.5 inches. A scissor is any scissor where the length of the blade is 6.5 inches or less. So I kind of use those terms interchangeably. The average price that people pay for their scissors today in salons range from $100 to about $500. They can get expensive. When you're spending that kind of money for your scissor, there's a few things you can do that make them last you longer. One is during haircuts, whenever you have to set your scissor down, never set them down on your countertops, hard countertops with the blades open. You get these little tiny nicks and chips in the blades. That's what causes the hair to fold when it gets in those nicks and chips. That's why you have to have your scissors sharpened. To prevent that, always close the blades and only set them on a towel, a paper towel, something soft when you put them down. You'll reduce the frequency of having to sharpen your scissor. The rule of thumb is the less you have to sharpen your scissor, the longer they will last you. Plain and simple. Second thing is when you put them away at night, dry them off completely. If you have water perm solution on your scissors, it will start to rust them after a while. And also if they stop cutting hair, to check to see if they need sharpening, all you have to do is open the blades, take the edge of your thumbnail, sit on the back of the blade and gently, your thumbnail, not your thumb girls, gently rub it to the front. When you rub your thumbnail to the front of the blade, if you feel any nicks and chips, if they're in there, you will feel them. That means those blades need sharpening. But what you're going to find, what happens a lot, you rub your thumbnail to the front, it's completely smooth, it feels fine, but the scissor's not cutting hair, it keeps folding hair. What's more than likely happened is the blades have loosened up too much. They need to be readjusted. So to check your scissor to see if the blades are adjusted properly, hold it level like this. Lift up the ring finger and let it drop. If it just flops down without any resistance, the blades are too loose. All you have to do is take the dial. If it's a screw, you need a screwdriver, turn it to the right, so when you lift up the ring finger, it'll stay up by itself, just a slight touch down. Always check that first. If your scissor stops cutting hair, more than likely that's all it is. It just needs to be readjusted. What titanium is on a scissor, it's an ultra-fine aluminum-like alloy that some of the scissor manufacturers use to coat the steel. So when you get a titanium scissor, you're getting something that's chemical resistant. It'll never rust on you, which is great. But the reason why I'm telling you this, you're going to see these out in the marketplace. People buy what's pretty today. Some of the vendors may try and tell you, these are titanium scissors, you never have to sharpen these. That's not true. There's no such thing as scissors that never need sharpening. You're out there cutting 10, 15 heads of hair a day, you do a lot of dry hair cutting, slice cutting, you've got to sharpen the blades. No such thing as scissors that don't need sharpening. I'll pass this. If you're planning on spending at least $100 for a pair of scissors out there, and you're not familiar with the brand of scissor they're selling, I would ask the vendor a couple questions to protect yourself. The first question that's not going to hold over. The first question you should ask them is, what country is the steel from they use to make the scissor? And the second question you should ask them is, what is the heating grade they use on the steel? If they tell you the steel is from Japan or Germany and has a minimum of a 440 heating grade to the steel, you're going to get your money's worth for the $100 price or so. Japanese, German steel, the 440 heating grade comes in three different levels, A, B, and C. C is the best you can get. Those scissors should last you for years if you take care of them. What it competes with is steel that's from a 330 heating grade. That steel mostly comes from China, India, Pakistan, and Korea. Nothing wrong with those countries, but the steel from those countries is very soft and it chips very easily. A little higher grade of steel is any 440 steel that has V steel or Cobalt added into it. It's going to be a little bit more expensive. And then the highest rated steel you can get in the world is anything made from Hitachi Steel. Hitachi's not a scissor company, they're a steel company in Japan. They make the highest rated steel for scissors, knives, and swords. All of the steel for those items are rated by a worldwide rating system. It's called an HRC. It measures the hardness of the steel in relation to the sharpness of the blades, the edges. Hitachi is the best you can get. It's 62 to 63. Your V steel, Cobalt, 440 steel, that's between 59 and 61. The problem is your 330 steel is very low. It's 53 to 54. Here, I'll pass this out. That's an Hitachi steel. Don't drop these. It's over here, right here. This is a Japanese steel scissor. This is a 440 C grade. If you cut 10 heads of hair a day with this scissor and you take care of it, you shouldn't have to sharpen it more than once or twice a year or so, depending on how well you take care of it. This scissor that has the silver dial on it, this is a 330 grade steel scissor. You can buy these in the beauty supplies. They sell for about $20. You cut 10 heads of hair a day with this scissor, you're going to sharpen it every couple of weeks. The problem is after 4 to 6 sharpenings, sharpeners can't get an edge on these blades. It becomes a throwaway scissor. The reason why I'm passing these out to you, put them both in your hand. Open them, close them, look at them, feel them. You're going to see it's hard to tell the difference between these two scissors. I'm not trying to scare you guys, but scissors and shears, they do not go through the FDA. They're not like your shampoos, conditioners and stuff. They don't do that. Some of these vendors will take the $20 scissor and mix them in with the, the $200 scissor, whatever. You got to be real careful with that. You can get ripped off. That's why you want to ask those 2 questions. One is, what country is the steel from they used to make the scissor? The second question, what's the heating grade on the steel? So that's very important. Any questions on that, you guys? Because you're going to run into this stuff when you're looking at scissors out there in the marketplace. Ergonomics. This is real important. You guys, when you're looking at scissors out there, especially when you're new, trying to figure out what scissor is going to be good for you, a good starting point is you want to look at the handles of scissors. All scissors in the world are going to be made one of 3 ways. You want to see this. All scissors have the blades that cut the hair, and they have these 2 finger holes that control them. What separates them is this piece of metal that attaches to the thumb. It's called a shank. When this piece of metal attaches below the thumb, can you guys see that? It goes below my thumb. When you do a haircut with that, start using it, your wrist will always stay up in the air. You cannot bring your wrist down comfortably to do a haircut. So the first way they make a scissor, the shank attaches below the thumb. The second way they make a scissor, the shank below the thumb. When it attaches to the middle of the thumb, you put your ring finger, your thumb in, your wrist can go up or you can bring it slightly down. Plus, if you have a smaller thumb, you can look for scissors where the thumb isn't straight, has a little bit of a curve in it. Those are designed to palm into your hand a little bit easier. But the second way they make a scissor, shank goes to the middle of the thumb. I'll pass it out as well. The third way they make a scissor, the shank attaches to the top of the thumb. When it attaches to the top of the thumb, you put your ring finger, your thumb in, your wrist always stays completely down in its most relaxing position. You guys, if you're having any problems, you go home at night, your wrist hurts a little bit from cutting your doll, you might want to consider this type of a handle. It's called a crane handle. That's been their top selling scissor, one of the top 3 or 4 selling scissors the last 8 years, because it's a crane handle, much more. Plus it's pink, that also has a lot to do with it. And then if you are having wrist problems, your best bet is any type of a swivel thumb scissor. This is where the thumb turns for you. The advantage to a swivel thumb, let's say you're doing a horizontal 0-degree cut, vertical cut. You notice how my fingers are positioned to the blades, they're perpendicular. With a swivel thumb you can bring your wrist flat. So now your fingers are parallel to the blades, there's no pain in your wrist. Scissor over comb especially, you like this all day, you bring it back this way, much more natural. To try this, I'll pass this out. Hold the scissor out, put your finger on the dial, push the dial and turn the scissor at the same time like you're shaking somebody's hand with it. What's wrong? Oh, then for control. Your best bets for control of the scissor is your 3-hole scissor, you guys. Your 3-hole scissor, your middle finger locks in place, you're always going to get a 0-degree cut. They have a 3-hole swivel thumb. The 3-hole swivel, this is really good for control and for your wrist. Left-handed. Anybody in here left-handed? A couple of you guys, yeah. You're discriminated against. They don't make a lot of left-handed scissors.